baby, baby, then. Ooh, shit. Who's it? Pretty thing and you bougie. Ooh, shit. Who's it? Why you stress, girl, lose it. I tell you, one bit, one bit. I could tell you one man, baby girl, one bit, one bit. I tell you one bit, sweeter, sweeter, sweeter. I could tell you one man, baby girl, one bit, one bit. I'ma put that thing in the coma. Gum, 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 gum. Now when you drop it, make a situation gum, gum. Gum, 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 gum. And I need run, don't make me wanna gum, gum. Gum, 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 gum. When you drop it, make a situation gum, gum. Gum, 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 gum. And I need run, don't make me wanna gum, gum. Girl, it ain't a new thing. It's a me and you thing. Trying to get freaky, get you tied up like a loose end. They're saying you a bad, you love the fast things. It's about the vibe now, it's about the action. Probably wanna reach next. You like the fashion, all about the angles now. It's about the captions. Oh, you a bad thing and you got a bad crew. You don't catch pills, now you catch cashew. Oh, you a bad one with all these nights out, all these little getaways, all these flights out. Hashtag slay life, yeah baby, so what? Mama saying slow down, your girl saying roll up. So baby, what you down for? What you down? We could keep it on the down low. Keep it on the down low. Really loving how you work that thing. I should come around more. I should come around more. Gum, 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 gum. Now when you drop it, make a situation gum, gum. Gum, 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 gum. And I need run, don't make me wanna gum, gum. Gum, 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 gum. When you drop it, make a situation gum, gum. Gum, 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 gum. And I need run, don't make me wanna gum, gum. Tell you one bit over, one bit over. I could tell you one minute, baby girl, one bit over, one bit over. I'ma put that thing in the coma. Gum, 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 gum. Now when you drop it, make a situation gum, gum. Gum, 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 gum. And I need to run, don't make me wanna gum, gum. Gum, 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 gum. When you drop it, make a situation gum, gum. Gum, 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 gum. And I need to run, don't make me wanna gum, gum.
Always loving local music on Informanté Radio, Mr. KK with Com. Good morning, welcome to the morning mix, about 8:15 on this Wednesday morning. Maybe first I should say good morning to the guys. Neville, Maria.
Good morning.
Sorry, Maria is busy on a cell phone. Can you cut off first the whole broadcast so she can finish up on a cell phone?
Sorry, it's work related, but yeah.
Yeah. It's always
back
work
to school.
related.
Back to school.
New boyfriend, my guy.
Back to school.
Yeah, that's what it means. Back to school.
Yo.
New boyfriend.
Look at the look of
put me
Maria.
on the spot.
Okay, guys, we gotta behave. We have a very special guest in the studio this morning. We have the executive director of education, Miss Sanet Steenkamp.
Mrs.
Mrs. Oh.
Doesn't matter. Sanet will be fine.
Oh, okay. Good morning. Welcome to the morning mix.
What's a miss? What
It is
what message are you trying to send out there?
But I think Miss it's actually acceptable for married and for unmarried people.
Yeah.
Is that so?
Yeah, but he just
Since
said
when?
Miss would not be acceptable for
For
married
a married
woman.
person.
For a married person.
Okay, I guess.
School, yeah.
Ek
We're
moet
here
bietjie
to...
terug gaan skool toe.
Ja, gaan terug school toe. Ja.
And here I was thinking I'm going to show off my Okanja secondary school English. You guys put me back in my place. Okay. Okay, once again, good morning. Welcome. It's a great pleasure to have you with us this morning.
Thank you very much. I'm actually very delighted to be here.
Yes. We want to talk about your ministry a little bit. So I guess we should start with what is the mandate of the education ministry?
Wacht net eers. Okay. We just need to tell Mrs. Steenkamp, okay, that we had a few ministers here in the studio in the past. So they would normally come in here, okay, very uptight and very tense, not knowing what. Jy moet die introduction reg doen, because she's been watched over 100,000 people are watching her at this moment in time.
And you think telling her that is going to make her feel more comfortable?
Ek wil mos ook so 'n bietjie druk, verstaan jy? So Sanet, as a result, we would have, in the past, we would have ministers coming in here very, very uptight and like, Bason, what are they going to ask us? I said, no, comrade, just relax. Kalam.
Never.
So, and then when the conversation goes and, the people start commenting and it becomes a very cordial, discussion. Up to the point, waar die minister nie uit die studio uit wil gaan nie, because the discussion is so vibrant and so engaging, etc., etc. So we just hope that you are relaxed and you're in a good space, because just take it easy, okay?
Thank you very much. And I must say, I left my jacket in the car, so for any viewer, it's no disrespect meant being in the studio without a jacket. So I'm at ease. I am at ease.
So since you are relaxed and okay, Sanet, your earpiece is turned around completely. Kyk net eers bietjie.
Wonder.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. There you go.
Liewe genade.
Daar sê. Okay.
Clever.
Now it's up. Okay. So, Cubase,
Directive.
hit
Over
it
to-
off.
The question remains the same. Like,
What's our mandate?
yes, the mandate of the ministry, yes.
Okay, so we're known as the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture. 3 mandates.
Okay.
So first and foremost, our first mandate related to basic education and formal education is to educate and train, and to allow any person that goes through our system to really become a responsible citizen. So that's the first mandate. And then the other one is related to the promotion and the identification and nurturing of talents in arts and culture. So in a nutshell, we're responsible for basic formal education from pre-primary up to grade 11 NSSEO, and then 2021 we will have the advanced subsidiary, which will be higher level course.
School is starting today.
Has started.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And
has started today.
And with all the excitement, there's also a lot of, I think, uncertainty in the air. But we are very pleased that, for example, in terms of placement, in Oshana region, for example, with 1,200 grade 1s, they didn't have a place. They're now reduced to 150 in Oshakati. And for that, we have a solution. And it will be a platoon system. A platoon system is where we have different teachers coming in the morning and in the afternoon to attend and teach different class groups, to make use of the existing resources. That's another classroom. But I can just wish parents all the best. And I think there was 53 days, and there were some parents who were literally praying never for the schools to reopen.
I've got a question now with the platoon. You're saying you have over 1,000 in Oshana.
1,200 it was initially.
Initially.
You know what happens is that parents would apply to 3 different schools. And then they would be accepted in one, but they would not go back
And inform the others.
to inform the other 2 schools. My child has now been accepted at Ongodiva Primary, And so you still sit with these numbers until you actually do head counts or you verify. And then people come back, through media engagement, people come back and say, some don't just come back. So now we only have had 150 in Oshakati and 50 in Ondangwa for grade 1s. So the placement of grade 1 and 8 takes place at regional office. Any other children for other grades that may require placement in school need to go to the school of their choice, at least. And we always say this is a process, Neville, that starts in April 2019. It started off already. And it was the enrollment process was supposed to have been completed already in October, and it wasn't. So some of us were just not maybe shifting or procrastinating that thing of going and engaging at a school, asking for the forms, and dan is daar die ewige R50 vir 'n administratiewe form.
Oh, yeah.
That, maybe that also pushes people off, but there were many people who did not apply, and it's not good. We have a whole year of admission campaigning going on.
Will you be making some rounds at the different schools today? Because I know we're going to see a lot of grade ones crying today. I don't want, mommy. We're going to see a lot of that for the whole day. I don't know if you
Please share some of those posts with us.
But we don't see it anymore.
Ai, Maria, waar gaan jy?
Die kinders hulle nie meer.
Gaan daar by kom as hulle gaan toe ras skool. Mama want jy. Mama. You need to learn. You need to be in school to become a doctor. I don't want to become a doctor. So we're going to be seeing that. Normally, I think at 8:00 news tonight, we're going to be seeing that a lot. Will you have a chance to go to the schools today?
Regrettably, today,
Yeah.
I won't be having a chance, but our deputy minister,
I see.
she has said to visit some schools
visit some
with
schools.
regional directors, of course, also.
Okay.
We have some by-elections starting off today.
Yes, by-elections
it's
today.
today.
Yeah, everything's happening today.
And it's happening and there will be some voting taking place at schools.
Polling stations.
There are polling stations. Would that not be disruptive to what happens today at school?
Hopefully not.
Okay.
And if it would be, it's luckily just
No?
very short term for today. But I think by now most of the schools were geared up. Teachers were ready. They came in a little bit earlier than the learners, and I think people are ready now to see who will be in their class, how they will be allocated the class sizes. That's also another issue, because in order to accommodate many more children in the system, you are now way past your teacher-learner post-provisioning norm. For example, you have one teacher for 35 learners in primary and one teacher for 30 learners in secondary. But the realities are that for everybody to not necessarily move into a tent, for example, which we have a lot in Commas, 42 at the moment, at 2 different schools where construction is still taking place. So you increase the class sizes, and then also that increase the workload for the teacher.
Apart from increasing the workload for the teachers, what does it mean for the learner? Can we really guarantee quality education when with such a huge number? Because you're essentially not getting the one-on-one attention that is required for you to excel.
Can we still really talk about one-on-one attention, except if we speak about homeschooling?
Aha.
First and foremost.
Yes.
So,
That's an interesting
secondly,
topic.
you have class sizes at private schools that are 15 to 18, up to 25. Now, research have shown that not even a smaller class size will necessarily give you improved academic performance of learners. So it's something that you can also look into. But you are having a point. Of course, the quality of the teaching will be affected. That teacher needs to be very well skilled, knowledgeable, and know how to handle a group of learners. I'm coming from a system where we had overcrowded classrooms or bigger classrooms. Can you imagine sitting also at university level with 120 people at university level? Of course, learning then is a lot of self-reflection and self-study and research and so on. But at a school level, it is a challenge to the teachers, and you would really require a certain character and skill, and a sense of calm. I would think tolerance, to get to instill the discipline, to maintain the discipline, and to keep the children stimulating. Because there's also a lot of peer teaching that can happen. On a one-on-one.
Because it's a good question that you ask, Maria, because I think we had a discussion somewhere, was it in
He's
last...
got a privilege because his kids are homeschooled.
Neville, we have to talk about that.
Yeah, my kids are in homeschool because, Sanet, I realized very quickly that my kids just can't cope in such a large setting. They get easily distracted, and I could obviously see the results. That's just what I saw. And I decided, no, we're going to go the homeschooling way. And when we went the homeschooling route the last year, we saw a vast improvement in their results. So, and I think that's, and it was good to have this engagement, just to hear also from your side as to how you view homeschooling compared to your conventional school system. So it's not out of privilege that I did send my children to homeschool.
I don't think
it was
likes homeschooling.
Homeschooling requires a lot of commitment.
Yeah.
People must not take it at face value and take it for granted.
Yeah.
Homeschooling requires a lot of structure and discipline, same as in a school. And it would also require, dedicated efforts from the person or the parent who do the homeschooling. But there must be specific reasons. And I hope you're registered, or that the due processes were followed, because the Education Act make provision for homeschooling, but really in in very special circumstances. First and foremost, you look, because of the social cohesion and the issue of meeting up, interacting, building character, not just when you're on your own and with your brother or sister or a nephew, but also when you are among other kids, But there's definitely there's room for homeschooling. I will not discourage homeschooling. I will just say that don't take it at face value. It's something that you must think through very, very carefully. There are still certain processes to be followed, and you have to ensure that the curriculum that you follow and the assessment that you have is accredited.
Because I think it was the first thing that the teacher said at the respective schools that my kids were. Oh, Neville, baie dankie. Dis goed, dis die beste ding wat jy vir jou kinders kan doen, want regtig die klasse is te vol, die klasse is te groot. If you can have your child to homeschool, it's the best thing you can do. So, I'm not saying which schools they are. Yeah, I protect.
It's fine. We can clearly make a distinction.
Right.
But these are challenges and these are realities.
But on a more controversial question. Go ahead. I think there's a lot of questions around.
Yeah, I think, Sanet, the next, what we want to touch on is the new curriculum. Why did you guys feel to change it? What was the method behind it about the new curriculum?
Great. Now, let's go back to when we gained our independence. There was a curriculum reform, 1990. There was a curriculum reform. And we had another curriculum reform in 2005. And in 2011, with Cabinet and with the Education Conference, a resolution was endorsed by Cabinet that we reform our curriculum, to have improved quality, better teacher, learner engagement in the classroom, and also have not so many learners out in the system. So this is a discussion that actually came for the past 9 years. And a lot of work has gone in behind the scenes with teachers, with curriculum panels, with the unions, who are now very vocal.
But they were involved.
They were absolutely involved. So there's great depth in consultation at all levels. That was done. So in 2015, we started off, after the groundwork has been laid out, the curriculum, the syllabi, the resources, the textbooks, the teacher manuals were produced then for pre-primary up to grade 3. And that is where we started in 2015. And so every year you extended to a different grade. And in 2017, we started with grade 8, which is now junior secondary, and grade 9 in 2018. So it's just logical that you that you build your grade 10 on your grade 9, and your grade 11 will be built on your grade 10. Do you see how it is rolled out in a logical fashion? So there has been confusion, Neville. And when we're misinformed, there's a lot of danger to do a lot of harm.
Yeah.
And that we see happening. Everybody came on board. Opposition parties came on board. Youth groups came on board. which is good. We need the engagement. But people made statements while they did not have an in-depth understanding, and they did not seek a better understanding and clarity. And that is what's painful.
Yeah.
So where we are now is that, and what we must understand is that we have 2 years of senior secondary, that is your grade 10 and your grade 11, and you will still after that get a national senior certificate for ordinary level.
Yeah.
Where you can go, where you can decide whether you want to go in the world of work. Are you ready for that? Do you want to go into vocational stream or what it is? If you wish to go for university for specific careers, like in any other university, you would need a distinction or you would need to have certain subjects on a higher level. You then proceed to a school that will offer you the higher level. So we started off this curriculum reform, and it's something that has been developed as we go on. And we are accredited with Cambridge. There's at least 142 countries accredited by Cambridge. I encourage our listeners, to actually make sure that Google and understand at what level is your country, and the standard and the quality.
Ons gesê wat se wambo education is hierdie? Ons soek KOD. We used to That was how it used to sound. Nee. Ons soek hierdie swapo government goed nie. That's how it used to sound. We were made to believe that the new system is very inferior.
But apart from Googling, I'm curious because Sanet said something very serious. Google it, find out how are we ranked, because I think I'm curious. Year in, year out, we see the results. They're not the most impressive. So we obviously conclude that our education system is falling short.
Have you seen the latest video that talks about the 10 top countries in Africa?
No.
I'll share it with you. We are falling 10th. Seychelles is first.
Okay.
In terms of education?
In terms of education.
Okay,
So there's a lot of good things that are happening. There's a lot of good things that are happening behind the scenes. It is important for us to understand when you implement, and when you implement a new curriculum, there's arduous planning that goes into crafting that curriculum. There are different stakeholders involved. There are teachers involved. There are curriculum panel members involved. A syllabus is drawn up to see that local content is featured in. Nee? Wie van ons het al gevlieg toe ons klein was en moes stories geskryf het oor vliegtuie en goed.
Exactly.
And you never had that exposure. So it's really localized, but it's still challenging. It's still critical. But it's accredited by Cambridge. So a syllabus, I just want to tell you out there, it can go back and forth between experts until it is at an acceptable standard where we now say, this is world class and this is where we want to be. So, daar's nie twee stories nie. Dis 'n feit soos 'n koei. Hierdie curriculum is uitdagend. It comes with challenges. Now, people were asking, no, you are not well prepared, you are not well planned. We have planned very extensively. But you must remember, and I want to use the words, I was reflecting on when he was speaking, the CEO of the Economic Board, Dr. Mwanzi, yesterday. He was saying that you have until the end of January to plant white maize, if you want to prepare. But he cannot guarantee that there will be rainfall. Or that with the rainfall there will not come floods. Or hail or whatever, or worms that will come and destroy your crop. It's the same with the curriculum implementation. It was well thought through. It is really up to a level where we want it to be. Fostering specific competencies in our children. However, we must understand with the implementation of the curriculum, it is very resource intensive. Your teachers need to be very well trained. They need to upgrade the content knowledge of the subject. The subject's content need to be upgraded. And that is where we still have to attend to have more teacher capacity development on specific subject content. That is also new to them. That will still have to happen.
Yeah, so it's trial and errors.
While we are on the curriculum, I just want to ask, what are some of the, features or aspects of this new curriculum that sort of, at least in theory, make it better than what we had in place before?
Okay. So years and years ago, we had handwerk. We had technical subjects in the schools. And then a research was done, and it was found that it was only a few schools, and that it's very labor intensive, and it's only a few learners who benefit, and it's also very resource intensive. So that was phased out. What we've done now is to do, again, proper research, and we're introducing already at primary level, for example, elementary agriculture.
Important.
Home sciences. So this curriculum is a 2-stream curriculum. In certain grades already you have the exposure of technical subjects, and then for the resource schools, the special schools, the 11 that we have in the country that caters for children with special needs, we have pre-vocational subjects. So we have made provision for children under pre-vocational, for example, in the new curriculum, to do office administration, hairdressing. They're accredited with NQA and NTA, so, and hospitality, caregivers for the elderly. So there's that component that's built in as a pre-vocation only for children with special needs. We have to make provision for them.
No, of course.
And then you've got the technical stream also. So I think, or the vocational stream, and I think there's a lot of disrespect for vocational training.
True.
And there should be more.
And we should set the mindset right, because I think there are plumbers out there that earn quite a bit of money that in a lifetime I will not have been able to.
No, very true.
No, we've been saying it, that there's needs, so not everybody's book smart, but some people are better with their hands and so forth.
So it's one of the things.
Of the features.
And then, of course, we've separated subjects that we now have, for example, at a advanced subsidiary level, you have now physical science and chemistry, so it's separated.
Okay.
So and also in terms of what is also different, the teacher who taught higher level would have the same year teaching ordinary level and higher level. We're now saying with advanced subsidiary, please, it is advanced subsidiary. Even the media practitioners must get it right, so that we inform correctly that it's the year after the NSSEO certificate. It's advanced subsidiary. It's high level subjects. You would require at least minimum 3 Cs.
Oh, so this is 12th grade, so to say.
Yeah. You would in order to do that, you would need to have 3 Cs
in the 11th grade. Moving on to the next grade.
In your NSSEO certificate. Minimum 3 Cs. If you want to do 5 subjects, depending on what you want to go and do at university level, what the requirements will be for that specific university, you would know that you need to have 5 subjects or 6 subjects with a C. So for now, we say minimum 3, maximum 5. And that is at an advanced subsidiary level. Now, what we already also need to inform people right now is that advanced subsidiary, it will also create, a certain sense of disruption of my stability, disruption of my order, because it will only be certain schools in the country. So teachers will have to move to certain schools if they just want to teach higher level subjects. We're working on those schools and the teachers, and that is where they will be much more labor intensive and building on the teacher subject knowledge content that we have to work on. So we will have to get external stakeholders. We will have to work very closely with the private schools. We'll have to work very closely with the teachers in our own system that are excellent already at a higher level. So it's not every school. It's not every school that's going to offering AS level.
Okay. Is that the plan to only keep it with some schools, or is there a plan to perhaps integrate it into all secondary schools or high schools at some point?
That will also be determined by the need.
Okay.
That will be determined by the need of how many learners. You can't have it, because then you will sit with a saturation of teachers in a field of overstuffing of teachers at certain schools, but there are no learners to do, or no learners who wish to do high level. If you look at high level now, the numbers are much smaller every year with the results. Are you with me? Yeah. That actually writes higher level subjects. Yes. So we still have to work through with the schools, with the teachers, with the directorates on the intricacies, but we do expect that it's not going to be all smooth sailing. Like I said, any curriculum reform or any change that we bring in, there are two elements. You can see it as a risk, a threat.
Yeah.
Because it's a threat to your order, to your stability, to the security that you have in the classroom, the way you've been doing things all these years now.
Yeah.
9 years, and now you are told, that we add a little twist here,
Your routine,
and then so that it can be a risk, or it can be an opportunity, as you say, for more growth.
Okay, just to clarify, maybe I'm not understanding it. So after 11th grade, what we now know as 11th grade, is it?
Let's call it NSSEO.
Okay.
Yeah, after the senior secondary.
Okay, I'm calling it so that it's
just
what we officially now know as 11th grade. After that, if you want to go to university, would you then have to complete the 12th grade, which is something new, before you then go into tertiary, or can you, after the 11th grade, the
NSSEO? So it's the National Senior Certificate of Ordinary Level. So that is the equivalent of the old grade 12. So there will still be some learners. Please, the grade 11 of the new curriculum is the equivalent of the old grade 12.
This is what I want.
So there will be institutions in Namibia that will still take you
with that,
depending on what their requirements are. If the requirements are 25 points, you still have to work towards 25 points. If the requirements are a C, you have to work towards that.
A C, yeah.
If you want to become
a doctor,
if you want to go doctor or follow an illustrious career of piloting, you need to know that you need to have certain subjects on higher level, and that is what we must work towards. That the AS, you need to know that you will need to have a C. But I'm saying, if you want a distinction, you cannot aim for a C.
Yeah.
You must already walk out with your NSSEO 5 subjects, or 3 or 4 at least, A, B, C. Why not?
So your grade 12 is basically your higher level now.
Yes.
Yeah. Before we get to the questions, you did mention private schools, and also we spoke about tertiary institutions. We had this conversation just before the show, just before you arrived. Does the ministry also sort of regulate the fees of private schools, especially high schools?
Well,
Want dis baie hoog.
Dis baie hoog.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yes.
No, I can relate to that. But let us look at the Constitution. The Constitution says that every person or any person has the right to education. And education is guaranteed up to the age of 16, compulsory, 16 years, formal system. And the Education Act and the Constitution makes provision for anybody to establish, and the Education Act is very clear on this. Act 16 of 2001, it says, any person has the right to establish a private school, provided that it's registered and provided that the person has got the required finances to do so. So they still apply to the ministry. There's a very rigorous process of verification happening, and then a private school is established. We don't regulate their fees, the school fees. That is why we, as a government, to make sure that we address the pillars of equity and quality, we have opted to go, for
free
universal education. So it is not where we want it to be. The funds and the subsidies that we give is not where we want it at that level to be to the schools. But you must remember that there's a lot of schools who already upgraded themselves and uplifted themselves from certain levels of inequalities and poverty, by providing education to the children. So to answer your question, we used to subsidize private schools. In the past year we could not even give it was not possible, and the minister wrote to the private schools to say, you need to motivate to us why you should still be subsidized. But if you have to look at the whole issue of equity, you first have to ensure that the children in the 1,897 state schools that we have, of which at least 150 is private schools. So we've got 1,897 schools in the country. We cater for more than 781,000 learners, and we've got more than 30,000 teachers in the system. So 150 of those schools that I've just mentioned, they are private schools. And of course, it's also the right and the choice of the parent where he or she wants the school to be. But then I must also add to you that they are brilliant public schools. And we have, I want to say this today, and I know it's going to sound very controversial, but we have parents who fight tooth and nail for their children to enter into good government schools.
Delta, Ventokai, we have a few
You name
examples.
them. They fight to get in there, but then they're absent at the sports field. They make the biggest louds, many of them. Make
Parents'
the
meetings.
biggest or have the biggest complaints about contributions. How do we think we want to sustain and maintain great quality education if we don't have tutorial sessions for children, if we don't offer extramural activities for the learners? Everything costs money. And the subsidy that government gives is not sufficient, especially for schools in an urban area who were used to getting at least 6,700 a year from parents. And all of a sudden, that's taken away. And people say, oh, well, charge parents. And we say, why should we charge parents if parents know that they have an obligation
To contribute.
towards
moral
the
obligation.
children's
Yeah.
Becomes a moral
education?
obligation.
Yeah.
That's well said.
So it is a contentious issue. I know it sounds also very complex, but for now we are gearing our resources to assist the public schools, while there are private schools that government is still subsidizing very highly, but with teachers. And those are the church schools, who before independence have been walking.
The St. Paul's.
No, the Catholic schools whom we have contracts with, who give us their schools, but they give us their schools and the infrastructure, and we say, okay, in that case, we'll give you the teachers. So that is still happening.
So Sanet, maybe just in conclusion for me on this particular issue. So I'm 3 months behind on my school fees. The school decides to lock my kids out of the schoolyard because my school fees are
In arrears.
in arrears. So I can't come to the ministry and come and complain to the ministry.
Okay, let's talk about school fees.
Yeah, asseblief.
The only fees that are charged, and this is why there was such a drop in revenue to the state. The only fees that are currently charged at schools, it's hostel fee, which is so minimal, so minimal. We have to work on that, because to be in a hostel for many, it's
a necessity.
It's a necessity. But there are also the privileged few who prefer to put their children into hostels because the argument is that their work does not allow them, because they travel a lot, to
They
attend
don't want
to
to
the
deal with
children.
the kids.
But that is up for debating. I'm just saying. So it's hostel fees. Really, the maximum it's 500, and then we have examination fees. Those are the only fees. And
it's
those
talking about
examination
private
fees
schools.
are with NAMCO. So we don't charge children school fees. What we are appealing to parents is to say that look at the condition of your school. Look at where your child is. Look at what is your vision for your child. What is it that you want your child to achieve? If you want your child to have swimming classes, you'll have to pay for the swimming classes.
Yeah.
But if you want improved material production at a school level, you'll also have to contribute. So what is it? Not just in terms of money, but also in kind. If you can just come with a paintbrush, or you want to come and beautify the school by planting three trees and have some shrubs, wouldn't that be beautiful? So that's what we want. That's the contribution. But there is no principle, no matter how hard it goes in our schools, that should send a child away. We
We're
need to
talking
be
about private.
very clear on that.
You were talking about private.
Private
Just to be
schools.
clear. He was talking about private
No,
schools.
private schools, you sign with your code of conduct, you sign your contracts. Those are businesses. Schools have become very business-like, you know. And then parents don't want to come and sign the school of conduct. Oh, but you know what also happens? In the past 3 years, many parents took their children out of private school and brought them back into public schools.
Yeah.
There's one at my kids' school that's in a private.
So
but I want-
just to say that, that also. So there's pros and cons on everything. But the good thing that we must remember is that we're not in competition.
Yeah.
We must work
together.
together.
Jy het klomp vrae daarso.
Nee,
I
maar
see
voor ons
jy-
gaan. I just wanted
It's
to
a-
ask something.
there's a lot of stuff
And
here.
I just want one last question. There's been suggestions that perhaps the reason that we don't do as well as we should is because we don't have a reading culture in this country. We see it with libraries. Rarely, usually we have one around here. It's usually empty. We don't have libraries in
Gaan
all
jy
the
daar so?
towns. A lot of schools don't have libraries or those facilities. And in the absence of that, when you don't develop a reading culture for learners, that of course changes how they do in school. Is that something that the ministry agrees with? And if so, are there plans to perhaps kind of start instilling a little bit more of that reading culture?
Okay. So years ago, when I was still in Ohangwena region, I made the headlines because I responded that we do not have a reading culture. And reading is something that starts at home.
Yes.
First and foremost. I've encouraged parents on my WhatsApp status 2 days ago, and I said, read to your child.
Yes.
It is very rewarding. There will be a bond that will be forming between the two of you. And allow your child to read to you. Those two things, if it can happen. Now, I know that all of us work. We go back, we rush home. We come home very late with the taxis. Let's be honest. We come home quite late. We still have to cook. We have to see if the homework been done. But I'm asking, put the child to bed, whatever kind of bed we have. But encourage the child to read. So we've got plenty of libraries. Make no mistakes. It's just that we're now taking away actually some funds from libraries to give to formal education, which is also not correct, but you have to strike a balance. However, on an annual basis, we used to send books to every school. So whether you have a glorified, beautiful space for library or whether you have a reading corner, what the ministry introduced is a reading period. I'm not sure if you are aware of that.
I wasn't.
Yeah, we've got a reading period in every single grade.
Wow.
Where a child can do silent reading, or you can also ask the child to come and read, if you so wish, but mostly it's silent reading.
I think we used to do that at school.
Ja, en ek was altyd so lief vir oral gewees.
Yeah. Me. I know.
I
Is it just
did
me or
that.
does school
I
sound
loved
a
that.
lot more fun all of a sudden?
But you're right. You're very right, Cubase. We need to bring back the fun in teaching. We need to bring back creativity but let's foster and stimulate it from home. Because if I can see that my grandchild, for example, cannot hold a pencil properly, you know, I need to make time. Pep stores. Iemand het nou die dag a meme gesirculate, môre reik die skool net pep stores. So. Don't talk, you know, with that tone about pep stores. Don't talk with that tone about pep stores.
No,
It took
I
us all
agree.
through school.
Yes.
Pep
Pep
stores
stores took us.
have got little books.
Yeah.
I was there myself. $16.99. I bought 3.
I love it.
Coloring,
Yeah.
the alphabet, and mathematics. All that you need to lay the foundation
Yeah.
Yeah.
at home. Every parent, please go out there. Pep Store, $16.99. It's there. It's accessible. You don't need to go to any other store that charges you exorbitant amounts of money. But it's there. What we're saying is foster a reading culture at home. Encourage the reading the reading period to be well used in the classroom, because we have brought it back into the classroom, silent reading.
No, that's good.
And then, you know, years ago when they open up in Karasburg, when they open up die dorpse bibliotheek vir ons,
Yeah.
we walked kilometers and you could take a maximum of 5 books, but we took out the 5 books. So I'm encouraging parents and teachers and learners to become part of library,
Yeah.
and take
Reading
out books. And one thing we also don't do very often, we don't buy books.
Yep.
Google.
Yeah. I'll
Yes.
tell you how sort of my reading improved in primary school. My mom sort of forced me. I would say forced because I'm sure I did not agree with it at the time. But I had to read her the pieces of the Bible every night before she went to sleep.
Yeah.
By God, did I learn how to read. Let me show off some of that reading. Let's check out some comments. Bradley Kubiseb says, morning crew and Mrs. Steenkamp, kindly shed light on the employment possibilities of a degree graduate in accounting, maths or science, but he or she does not have an education degree or certificate. Right? Seeing the current employment problems in Namibia, I see a lot of my fellow graduates storming into the education vacancies of late, although they are not holding education degrees.
Okay, let's just read a few.
Okay.
Because it must be quite a lot.
There seems to be a lot of, I guess, a lack of understanding of the new curriculum, because a lot of the comments are asking just a bit more. Like Mutati Okaston says, Ms. Sanet, talk about the new curriculum. Katrina system, explain how it works.
Katrina system. Okay,
I honestly, this is Des van Beek. I honestly think somebody did not do their homework when they changed the curriculum, as there is no textbooks or very limited resources. Right? What was wrong with the old system? Does the ministry realize a lot of children will not have a matric farewell and will leave school early, and unemployment rate could possibly skyrocket? I am not in agreement with the new system. Helmi Onesimus Aaron, good morning crew. One, the director must tell us who do they contact before coming up with a new correct curriculum. If you've been listening to the show, this is something that's been in the planning for 9 years. But anyway, the question continues. Number two, why their new curriculum not starting with the grade 1 this year? Why do they have to confuse teachers, learners, and the public by mixing things up? Nande Matundu, as we struggle with the ratio of one child, one book, are there textbooks available, as the change of curriculum can be bought, but books that the government provides? Okay, I'm not sure that makes entire sense. Maybe let's just touch on those a little bit before we move on.
Okay, so I really appreciate the comment on in terms of maths and science and accounting. So our prerogative is to, in terms of employment, is to ensure first that you employ a qualified teacher that has a tertiary teacher qualification.
Yeah.
In the absence of that, that is when you then employ what we call an underqualified. This person is underqualified. He or she has a qualification, but it's not a teacher education
Exactly.
certificate or degree. So that will be an underqualified teacher, and usually they are only employed truly where the need or where there's a need and where fully qualified teachers could not be taken. But I must also say we've got at least 4,000 teachers. We will know now after the 15 school day statistics will give us an idea of how many. But last year we had more than 4,000 under and unqualified teachers in the system, of which at least 2,000 are doing the inset program with us for junior primary. But yeah, it is challenging. I know it's very competitive out there, and you won't believe that for one school or one position you can get easily 700 or 800 applications, especially in urban areas where everybody wants to flock and think life is better. Sadly, we think life is better in an urban area, but that's people's choices. So it's very competitive out there. The first choice will be given to fully qualified teachers, and then we must also know that there are some fully qualified teachers who are not prepared to go to a school in a rural area because they prefer good network, they prefer connectivity to the internet, they prefer to have shops nearby, and that's their life and that's their choice of life.
And bush allowance not encouraging?
Well, bush allowance, what we call bush allowance, the amount is 1,950, that's the highest, but then it's taxed. And the second amount, 1,750. So and then it's text, and your lower amount is so there are 3 categories, but that doesn't retain professional teachers. What retain a teacher in a school in a rural area is passion. Is that absolute commitment, and I take my hat off for those teachers, honestly, and strong leadership. That is what sets. Even in our research have shown that what set a school apart in an urban area in terms of quality outcomes, learner outcomes, and improved academic results, and that in a school in a rural area is strong leadership.
Yeah.
Decisive leadership, unity at a school, fostering of a culture of care. Those 2 things is really what set apart schools in rural areas to outperform other schools. But that's now, you see, I speak too much, Neville.
No.
That's why you are
She's
here.
a teacher by profession.
But just to say, that is it's a positive deviant study. I can share it, but it says there are 4 things that set one school apart from another.
Yeah.
So even if a school in the urban area has got all the resources, all the computers, if they don't have strong leadership, if there's no unity among the staff, if we still have disunity in klein groepetjies in staff rooms, and if we still have teachers not being present and prepared in the classroom.
Those independent candidates.
No, but I'm saying then, does the ministry go to a school like, let's say, Nerumbo, that performs very well year in, year out, and say,
give us your best practices.
Give us your best practices.
Yeah, that is why we have every year consultative stakeholders meetings where we give feedback. Every region director present to the governor, the council, stakeholders. This is what our results look like. This is our Achilles heel. This is where we fall short. These schools did outstanding. We prefer that there's a twinning of schools or a sharing. One teacher can actually be a resource for another teacher. And it's time that we start getting into that of, Maria, you come into my class and I'll do the teaching and you can watch, or next time you come and do the teaching in my class and I learn from you, or we do it together. We co-teach and we see. So that arrangements can be made. So, and I think most of the interventions that we saw, although curriculum review is resource intensive, it doesn't cost money. It costs collaboration, it costs commitment and planning, and that strong leadership and the culture of care at a school. In terms of textbooks, now when we reformed the curriculum, not everything in the curriculum is new. First and foremost. About grade 1. As I said, in 2015 already, we started off by fully integrating pre-primary back into the system. If we have now, which we have more than 100,000 grade 1s, at least 50% of them have been through a pre-primary. If we can strengthen pre-primary, which we started doing since 2015, we now have availed 49 million just for pre-primary classrooms, and the remaining of the 87 million is for teacher refresher courses on pre-primary. Now, if you strengthen that, and that pre-primary child already knows and have certain competencies, play or learn as he or she plays, and have certain competencies in grade 1, you strengthen your foundation.
Of course.
And you will not have such a high repetition or dropout rate as you go up, and you will have a very good survival rate. Now, I need to make that very clear. So, pre-primary in grade 1, that new curriculum is ever since 2015. Let's keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Now, not everything in the curriculum is new, which means the textbooks that we spent millions of dollars in are not redundant. Let us get that clear. So 80% or 85% of the textbook is still relevant. The textbook that are currently in the school. Yes. And that should serve as a resource material. It should not be in the storeroom. It should not be under the principal's table or in a cupboard locked away in the teacher's class. So I need to make that very clear. So any new, like the chemistry, of course we will have to invest much more. So in the past year, we've invested 76 million in textbooks. We aimed for $150 million. That didn't happen. We spent 76. So yes, we make sure that the teachers get the books. As I said, we don't run away and shy away from the challenges that we face and the hardships that we face. I think we are not the only ministry in this government that face hardships. We are still one of the very privileged ministries where we have more than 20% of the national budget going to education. And if you take that 20%, which was 13.8 billion,
Dis baie geld, ja.
baie geld. So you have 11, at least 11.5 or 11.8 of the 13.8 billion goes to salaries.
I said before we started the show, we're definitely going to go over our time because the discussion will come so exciting. And I know there's just read the comments, not the questions, so that we can wrap up.
Hello, there are like over 40 comments that we haven't gotten to.
Yo.
And we are,
Now,
But it's
you
been
did
very
very well
informative.
reading, brilliant reader, very good avid reader.
thank you. Thank you.
So now
But
you need to
Leah-
summarize. You just need to skim now and see which ones fall into which
Yes,
category.
learn a new
and-
skill.
Okay, like the one thing that I did want us to sort of, or that I did want to bring forward before we close up, we did touch on education a lot, but we didn't touch on arts and culture.
Yeah, I wanted that as well.
So there was a comment saying we need College of the Arts, or I guess something similar, in every region, please. And can driving not be part of the syllabus?
Hulle wil ook alles in die syllabus hê.
Dis wel alles hè.
Comprehensive sexual education. I must come back for that one. Never.
Comprehensive sexual
Actually, it's so funny. I was going to ask you about the sex education that got
Not
everybody.
sex education, comprehensive sexuality
Ja,
education.
Jay wil net ander goed praat, Jay.
All right, and then
So
but
the
also the
emphasis is so much
creative.
on sex. When people just hear the word sex, it's
I call it that because I understand what it means and it
Yeah,
implies.
no,
and
no,
all.
it's good.
But on the creative element, and there's also
Yeah.
something so good somebody else thought.
Okay.
That's
So we've got the College of the Arts currently within the ministry, and they have got very well designed courses. We are also looking into restructuring and aligning the College of the Arts also to become more relevant. Okay, so everybody in the music production, most of them, or in television
Design
and design and so forth, have been a certain experience with College of the Arts. So I also want parents to look into that, even as an after school activity for creative in the creative artistic field. But this year, or 2019, we have managed, it was a very long and arduous process, but we have finally appointed what we call arts extension workers in the regions. So every region has got 2 to 3, sometimes 1 depending on the size, arts extension workers that goes into the school, that works with the learners. And that's part of the lifelong learning culture that we must foster in the country, as well as the promotion of arts. So that's in all 14 regions, and some are still at the College of the Arts. The challenge now for us is this year, in 2020-21 budget, to avail funds for them to carry out more intensive campaigning and advocacy and identification of talents among the children and nurturing those talents.
Yeah.
So
Praat asseblief.
Dit sê ons is in
Ek weet ons is in Duitse
Yes,
tyd nou.
we always like pushing it.
Yeah, Koffie sal verstaan. 5 more minutes just to read a few more comments and so we can have our closing arguments. Wat kyk jy vir my?
Correct.
It's a lost me.
Maybe here's something interesting that we could touch on from Bradley Kubisep. Mrs. Steenkamp, is there a possibility of free tertiary education, and are there any plans for this? Kyk, die ek kom groet nou eers aan die einde van die show.
Isn't
Wie
that
is
a
dit?
different direction?
Sal
Higher
net
education.
Alfredo wees.
Is dit net weer Alfredo daai? Wie jy? Oorig.
Van Beek Bobo, morning guys. This is a really good talk. I see most of the questions I wanted to ask have been asked already, but would like to know from Mrs. Steenkamp, when is the government bringing back the Bible studies for our little ones? Annelies Strauss Amen. How qualified are those regarded as qualified? All right. What quality assurance is in place to ensure that these teachers know their trade and especially can teach? How open are government or is government to allow experts and parents to stop by to ensure that quality or to ensure quality? We could talk about these things, but your results show the contrary.
Okay.
Okay, let's get through those questions.
Well, I certainly need to come back or send
Yes.
some more technical people also.
We'll be open
Yeah.
to having you.
But
In
wonderful.
closing.
In closing. If we want to promote accountability is something that your school board can hold a teacher accountable, or a principal in terms of the budget. A parent can equally, respectfully hold the teachers accountable. That's why if the parent is not involved in seeing that for this first term only 3 pages have been written, we keep quiet.
Yeah.
The moment you speak up and say, what is happening in mathematics? Why is it that my child only have 3 pages written so far and I can't see anything substantive? So I want to really urge parents to start engaging and ask the uncomfortable questions. Create a stir, but do it respectfully. Work with, not against the teacher. And yes, our results are what they are. We don't shy away from that. We can just continue to do more consultation. We can continue to invest more. But what happens in the classroom, the time on task, the quality of the teacher to mold and stimulate and get the child to respond in a critical manner, that is where the core of the issue is. And for that, we have to ensure that the teachers, that is why UNAM at the moment are reviewing their curriculum on teacher education. It will also still take a while, but they're also reviewing their pre-service courses for teachers. What are some of the other questions?
The Bible studies.
Oh, Bible studies. Remember, our Constitution states that we are a secular state.
Does that?
First and foremost. So we have an opinion from the Attorney General, that you cannot suppress one religious group in the interest of the dominant. Yes. And that is why we do it safely. And I want to encourage people to please ask for the syllabi at school or make time to go through your learners' books. We have what we call religious and moral education. Where in religious, even up to specific grades, you go into different levels of, or different denominations, or different religious. You have Islam. You can look at Judaism. You can look at Christianity. Yeah. So it's a personal choice for people to open a prayer, a meeting with a prayer, or to start off the class with a prayer. But you have to be sure that you do that, and that everybody is comfortable with it. Yeah. I heard the most amazing when I visited a school, one of the resource school, and I was asking one teacher, who do you stand out as a teacher leader? And she said, the Muslim teacher who during Christmas time taught children about the birth of Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see how beautiful that can be? So I think it's a matter of how we balance it. But if there are specific things that you want to foster for your child, start at home.
Okay, lastly, the indigenous language. There was also a question. There's introduction. So is it Swahili?
Kiswahili.
Yeah, Kiswahili. Will that be introduced in?
Well, like with the curriculum reform, we are at the tail end of our curriculum reform, so we will not bring in anything new immediately.
Okay.
Anything that will have to be taught will have to be very well researched, as we've done. Yes, in the past 9 years with the curriculum reform, it has to be very well researched. You will have to look at that it can be done on a pilot basis and on an optional basis. So we already have in our schools children writing examinations in French and in Portuguese, and of course German as a foreign language. So that will be treated as a foreign language, and it will not be rolled out to all the schools. That we cannot say for sure. How much it will cost, people want me to answer right now. How much it will cost to bring in Kiswahili? Well, I don't know, because we have to do the groundwork first and do the due consultation, even with people in the country, to see whether they are indeed
receptive
to it or not.
All right.
Okay. E-learning does the ministry have any plans to perhaps head into like some online platforms for learning?
There are online platforms for teachers. Kapano. We have online platforms for teachers where teachers can exchange ideas with each other. That is about it for now. Is the Kapano network where teachers can share their views, their experiences. You have to register to be part of that. So we can also ask somebody to come and say a little bit more about that.
Oh, sorry. Free
tertiary.
Free tertiary.
Yeah. That resorts under the Ministry of Higher Education, Training and Innovation. But remember that we are education sector, and anything that is for free need to be sustained. Let's not forget about that. If you introduce something, you must be sure that you will be able to sustain it. That means that salaries will need to be paid, your infrastructure need to be in place, and your materials must be in place if you want to sustain.
And without parents not contributing,
I'm just making that information.
Why are you looking at me?
Now, at least at college, we sort of subsidize our own studies one way or the other.
So lastly, I just really want to say thank you. It was very, very engaging, and we look forward to many more in-depth engagement on critical matters. We will never shy away, even if we don't have all the answers.
Of course.
We will gladly come back. I just want to state also on the 24th of January, it will be the first time that we will celebrate International Education Day.
Wow.
It was just pronounced last year. So the emphasis is on the 4 Ps, that is people, human rights. So the focus will be on people, peace, prosperity, and the planet. So the whole issue around climate change, and I just want to encourage our parents and the teachers out there to, around these themes, ensure that a child write a little poem about the planet.
There will obviously be a lot of comments, I think, during the day through, because our live stream will still be able, people will still be able to comment on the live stream that they've seen. So, please feel free to log into the Informanté Radio page and to go and see, and you can see exactly what the people are saying.
Thank you.
But this was very, very engaging. I've learned a few things also today.
A lot.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
So, Jella, wat is school fees betaal nie, ne? At private schools, you start paying now. What do you have in closing, Cubase? Is it clear?
Yeah, ons kan gaan.
Yeah, but Sanet, this has really been engaging.
Thank you
so much for joining us.
Thank you for remaining an open book. I mean, I was saying to them as well. Like that's one thing I've always admired about you, is that you are transparent and open. So thank you for that. That was really good, enlightening.
Are you fishing for a school teaching job or?
They can't afford me.
So big shout out to the parents, and just thank you so much for the continued support.
Thank you guys. To those of you that are also joining the conversation, I see Mensa complain a little bit. Yesterday you asked if you want us to open phone lines, and you said nope, no phones, and today it's like, hey, ons wel bel. Schizophrenic. All right, we are out of here, guys. Enjoy the rest of the Wednesday. Hannes Kaufman joins you on In the Mix. Derka is also going to join you on the Info Drive a bit later on in the day. So stick with Informanté Radio. We're out of here.
Chop.
The views and opinions